Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Blue Archive reaction. I was going to react to 3 of them in a row, but since I only have about 4 hours of sleep and my blood sugar is over 305, and I'm currently trying to work that out and then go to bed, I'm only going to be focusing on one song, and that is Theme 203, which apparently is pretty new, but also a standalone in multiple comments. So if there is anything that pairs with this, nobody made me aware of it. So it's really nice to just have a short one to get to today. So I'm just going to utilize that, and we'll get to the multiple one next time. But without further ado, let's go. Ooh. Ooh. It's a little bit darker than I'm used to from Blue Archive stuff. Wonder if it's gonna stay that way. Okay, so it kind of has a similar energy to the last songs I listened to. It's not exactly the same. Ooh, the triplet into a halftime, dude. What? I kind of forget how well that hits. A triplet into halftime, that transition. And back to the main beat. I'm really liking the recent texture work that I've been hearing out of these requests. There's a lot more going into that sound design. Much more subtle. It just ends on the bass. Yeah, I mean, that was a very like dark house kind of sound. It had this constant 4 on the floor, much like a lot of dance songs do. It's just a great basic dance rhythm. But yeah, I really love that rhythm transition in there. That felt so good, going from the triplet to the halftime. That was probably the highlight of this song. It kind of plays a psychological warfare thing with the mind, where you're going 4 on the floor, then it goes to 3, and you think you're going to go back up because there's not quite enough of a change in rhythm to make it feel like it's going down to a half. It's definitely a different psychological game going from a 4 on the floor to the halftime of that versus using a transition of those triplets to be able to bridge that gap that makes you kind of go with it a little bit more easy. Whereas like a 4 on the floor, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, without that transition between, feels so much different. That sudden change can feel either jarring on purpose or jarring in a bad way, where it's like they just didn't know what they wanted to do, they didn't have a direction. And usually it's fine and it feels totally fine, but I've definitely heard songs not do anything transitionally and just jump straight to halftime or back to full time, and it just feels wrong. They kind of jumped back to it in here. It went straight from the halftime back into the 4. That felt fine because you were in that halftime for long enough that your mind started kind of expecting that to happen at some point. And then when it did, you're like, oh, there. It kind of acts similar to the way a resolution works in a chord. If you just land on a high note without any sort of resolution back down or going one more up, and you're in the middle of a chord, it just won't feel right, and you'll be like aching for this resolution in your mind. So this sort of a transition is really powerful, and I love how it just carries you into there. It's so smooth. I think that's really what sells it for me on that. Just that triplet being there made the whole difference of that part. I also mentioned some of the textures that were in here, especially there was like this shaker sound instead of like like a standard traditional hi-hat or like a chick sound in there, that would be much more commonly used. I like that they used this shaker. It sounded so much more lively. The sample they used for this is definitely some sort of a shaker, probably borrowed from world music as a general like blanket of where they got that sound from. Shakers are really useful in a lot of percussive places, and when they use them in electronic music, it makes you kind of feel, oh, there's like an organic edge to this instead of just the electronic, just the synths all over the place. And it can start to feel a little too robotic and a little too fake, even if that's kind of the point of the genre, is that it's electronic. Having a little bit of that introduction back into organic sounds and having that included in there can help the mind kind of process what's being heard, especially if there's somebody not really used to electronic music. So this song, as a result, I would figure probably feels good to more than just already existing electronic fans, and would probably be a good bridge into this greater genre of like house and dance music to somebody who's maybe a little bit more familiar with other styles that use more organic percussion and world music instruments, just because of that slight, subtle, but very, very useful inclusion. But I think that's about all I'll say for this one, so thank you all so very much for watching. I am so tired. I need to sleep. If you have a recommendation other than those three I was going to be getting to next time, feel free to leave it down below, and I will do my best as always to get to it. And otherwise, if you like this video despite my exhaustion and you want to follow me and support me for more in the future, you know how to do all that, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye!